Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. These are about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the newest album from Kip Moore, titled Wild Ones. So I've talked a bit before about the whole Nashville songwriting machine, the group of songwriters and producers that churn out songs or even entire albums for our mainstream country stars. Sometimes with those artists not even having a single writing credit. Now for a critic this can be pretty galling, especially in determining a unique artistic voice behind all that music. But to be fair, it's not like pop or R&B or even rock and hip-hop these days is that much different, which is why an artist like Kip Moore stands out as something of an anomaly in modern mainstream country, because his debut, Up All Night, was released in 2012 and he had writing credits on every single song. And to go a step further, his material fit completely within mainstream radio, even at the genesis of bro country. Songs about girls, beer, trucks, nothing in the writing you haven't really heard before. But remember how I said that bro country can actually be, good? Well, I like to add Kip Moore to the very short list of acts like Jake Owen and Billy Currington, who can make this work while still maintaining a defiantly country sound with prominent melodies, grittier yet atmospheric production that reminded me a lot of a rougher Dierks Bentley in a good way, potent grooves, and a lot of raw passion from Kip Moore. The fascinating thing is that Up All Night seemed to draw a lot more inspiration instrumentally from Americana-inspired rock like Bruce Springsteen, even as the subject matter rarely rose above bro country standards, although thankfully delivered with enough heartfelt sincerity to rise above it in my opinion. And yeah, there were points that felt a little bit too synthetic to really work for me, but what raised Kip Moore above the pack were all the little details, and as such, it's no surprise that after a few strong singles, Kip Moore struggled to land hits on country radio, something which didn't surprise him given his visible contempt for the songwriting by assembly line process in bro country of the past 2 years. 2 non-album singles flopped on the radio, and I suspect part of it was just a flooded market, where if you played things a little bit more restraint and class, you weren't gonna stand out. And even if your writing was a cut above, and so was your production. As such, I was a little bit worried when I saw the list of co-writers that Kip Moore had ended up bringing on. He still had primary writing credits on everything, but there were more hands in the pot, and that did raise a certain amount of concern with me. But hey, I really liked Up All Night, and even Brett James, he was still handling production, so maybe he would still have some quality behind it. Does the album deliver? Well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for country music, even modern country music, this is definitely a stretch to say this album fits in that category at all, even if we're sticking to the rock side of things. Frankly, if you look at the instrumental tones, there's a lot more 80s inspired Springsteen or maybe the War on Drugs than anything close to country, which is a little bit awkward considering most of the lyrics and actual composition, it's more in line with modern country, which means Wild Ones is an album stuck between two worlds, not quite fitting in either and not quite great enough to transcend the genres altogether. Now, that's not saying it's not good. I'd argue it's better than many will give it credit for, but it isn't quite great, and the problems, unfortunately, are fairly easy to spot. But okay, let's start with the obvious positives, the first being Kip Moore. Holy God, this guy is a presence behind the microphone, with a raw edge to his howling voice that exhibits a ton of passion and emotive range, to the point where you could easily argue his voice is less country than hard rock. I definitely support that assertion, but I'm not gonna complain with him here, because he can easily utilize every part of his voice in that range, and for the most part, his vocal production can support him by letting ride the spacious, heavy grooves in the atmospheric mix for the most part. There are songs like Magic that try to smooth away that timbre, or songs like the lead-off single I'm to Blame, or the surprisingly clumsy That's Alright With Me that try to augment it with some multi-tracking and filters, and in neither case it's needed or wanted. The more organic swell his voice has, the better this album is. And you know what? To some extent that also extends to the instrumentation and production, where the biggest progression since Up All Night has taken place. As I described earlier, it's definitely a step towards more atmospheric roots rock and hard rock than anything in country, taking the natural step from spacious steel guitar accented country into more of a rock sound, letting high guitar flutters and melodies fill the background while relying on thick, sinuous bass lines and booming percussion to drive the groove. And while I'd usually raise the point that the percussion is a little bit too high in the mix, because it is, I find it hard to care when it's this energetic and works with the incredible bombast that Kip Moore brings to the table. I might not love the stripped back title track, but the momentum of songs like Come and Get It, the great rollick of the mid-range on Girl of Summer, that thick acoustic groove on What You Got On Tonight, the fantastic low simmer of Heart's Desire balancing against that hazy high melody that's later echoed on the Misty Complicated with those huge drums that leads to one of the best choruses on the album, the stripped back piano line that's driving Comeback Kid. There's a lot of great instrumentation here. Of course, there's the massive crunch on that groove on Lipstick, which might be one of the heaviest non-metal riffs I've heard this year. So much of the credit here has to go to Brett James's in production, and to Kip Moore's dogged commitment to actually making sure the bass lines play a prominent role in these country music, because these songs have such a rock-solid foundation in the mix that you almost wish you could find more to do with the mid and upper range, either by adding a little bit more guitar sizzle to go all-out hard rock, or throwing a little bit more steel guitars and maybe some fiddles to accentuate that country feel. Where this album can sputter a little bit, though, is on the endings of various songs. In some cases, they feel way too abrupt, like on the short lead-off single, I'm to Blame, really too short, the title track, or the spacey Magic that just feel abruptly cut short, or they stretch into these extended outros that are screaming for a groove-heavy guitar solo that doesn't quite materialize, like on Come and Get It and to some extent Lipstick. But here's where we have to talk about the lyrics. Honestly, the area where I wish that Kip Moore would push himself a little bit harder. Just like his last album, again, they aren't bad, although him saying, "Girl, what's the matter with you?" on Come and Get It probably isn't the best way to win her over, dude. But I find myself wishing they had more detail and texture. From the sounds of it, the album that he ended up scrapping between this and his debut was darker and a lot more personal, and I kind of wish we got more of those details between the fragments we see on tracks like The Lost Love of Girl of Summer, or the broken heart he tries to fight against in A Heart's Desire, or the real complication of impending kids that comes on Complicated that throws Kip Moore's hard lifestyle into sharp relief. But as much as I like Lipstick, it's a checklist song quoting cities that he sees before getting back to kiss his girl's lipstick, which really is an awkward turn of phrase the more you think about it. Or What You Got On Tonight, where he wants the girl to send pics of what she's wearing. That's all the song's got going for it. The only thing is that we get more details, they raise a lot more questions than are properly answered on this record, like on That Was Us, where he talks about with his group of friends raising hell, just like when Brantley Gilbert used the same song title on the same subject matter. Only this time, when a friend of Moore's gets beaten up by her boyfriend, we're treated to the details of Kip Moore and his buddy getting pulled over by the cops with booze and a gun ready to go make hell for this asshole. Again, I got some questions that aren't answered here. But what honestly gives this album its most power lyrically is its desperation, and it's most palpable especially on the closing track, Comeback Kid. Most of the writing and performances are so damn earnest and powerful. You can tell that Kip Moore is doing everything in his power to win over his audience while maintaining his artistic integrity. And I definitely appreciate the acknowledgement that his girl has his back even when he's ready to throw in the white flag and give up. It lends some welcome humanity to behind him, some vulnerability to his fight that I really did like behind him here. And the sad fact is that while I really do support this album and will be definitely recommending it, it'll be a hard sell to country radio, where programmers are already reticent on Brad Paisley, Dustin Lynch, and Dierks Bentley pushing the sound into spacier territory. And yet, for some reason, are giving Luke Bryan and Sam Hunt and Jason Aldean and Thomas Rhett and Zach Brown a pass, which I'll never understand. Kip Moore would be better off pushing this straight to rock radio, to be honest, and ignoring country entirely. It'll probably do a lot better, especially with songs like Girl of Summer and Lipstick are upcoming singles. But I definitely like this album, which is getting a strong 7 out of 10 from me, and definitely a recommendation. Don't go in expecting pure country music, gotta be honest here. And even rock fans, you'll be a little bit wary of this, but if you can look past that, you'll get some excellently produced, powerful stuff, and I'm not about to complain about that. Check this out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Anything else I may be able to do to improve my presentation, or any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, I'd be more than happy to give them a listen. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.